I was married to the prince consort for decades, a loving couple with children aplenty, until he was severely wounded on the battlefield, and his men risked their lives to bring him back to the capital to see me one last time. But unexpectedly, the person he wanted to see wasn't me. It was my imperial brother. He used his lifetime of military merits to beg for one favor. Please grant this servant permission to be buried alongside my late first wife. This servant has lived an upright and honorable life. Yet I alone have wronged Qin. After death, I only wish to be buried with her, to settle the regrets of this lifetime. My life instantly became a joke. It turned out the prince consort already had a first wife before marrying me, and had been keeping her pampered outside for decades, having children with her. Everyone tried to persuade me, "You've been husband and wife for decades. This is the prince consort's dying wish. Please bear with it and grant him this." The day he was buried holding his first wife's memorial tablet, I was so furious, I vomited blood and died. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day of my child's 1-month celebration. "Your Highness the Princess, the auspicious hour is almost here. It is time to bring the young heir to the front hall to meet the guests." The nanny's call woke me. I had actually undergone rebirth to the day of the 1-month banquet for my eldest son with Xixian. Looking at myself in the mirror, in the prime of youth, I couldn't help but tear up. At this time, I had only been married to the prince consort for just over a year, having just given birth to Yor. He took the child in my arms, my nose stinging with emotion. I am the legitimate daughter of the late empress, pampered since childhood. After marriage, I was even more deeply in love with the prince consort, with children and grandchildren filling the house. Who would have thought the perfect life I believed in turned out to be nothing but a joke? In this life, I will return all the humiliation I've suffered and completely tear off Xixian's hypocritical mask. "Yonner, the guests have all arrived. Let's go out together." Xixian walked in from outside, gently embraced me with a tender expression, his eyes full of gentle affection. I stepped aside, dodging his embrace, and picked up Yor. "The auspicious hour has come. Let's go. I am the Yan princess of the current dynasty. For my legitimate son's full moon banquet, all the prominent figures in the capital came. Everyone crowded forward to flatter us. Just then, a servant came to report. "Your Highness, the shopkeeper from Longjin Tower has come to deliver the young lord's longevity lock." My eyes flickered, and I smiled slightly. "Father Emperor bestowed a name upon Yuar, so I specially had someone make a golden lock so that Yuar would know his maternal grandfather's deep affection for him. Quickly, let them in." Everyone watched with envy. After all, the last time the emperor personally bestowed a name was when the crown prince's eldest grandson was born. The golden lock was placed in a rosewood box and brought in. Under everyone's watchful eyes, I opened the box and took out the golden lock. Suddenly I frowned and let out a Ji Jingyan. Everyone's expressions changed. My wet nurse saw this and scolded harshly. "How dare you? Call the shopkeeper over here. They even got the young heir's name wrong. That name was personally bestowed by His Majesty. Engraving it wrong is a capital offense." Xixian's expression changed drastically at once. I sneered coldly in my heart. In my past life, the characters on the golden lock were also wrong. Xixian hurriedly took it from my hands and went to find the shopkeeper on the spot, saying they had mixed up the goods, that there was a young master born on the same day as my son, also having his full month celebration today. Although I was angry at the time, I didn't take it to heart and just gave them a scolding. Only later did I find out that Shi Jingyan was the name of Qin Yang's eldest son. When Xixian discovered the golden lock had been delivered wrong, he became alarmed and sent them, mother and son, to his old family home in Qingzhou that very night. Thinking about it now, how could the shopkeeper possibly mix up a golden lock ordered by the princess's residence? Something so precious, there is only one possibility. Chinnyang did it on purpose. She wasn't willing to accept her child having no name or status, so she deliberately switched them hoping I would find out. It is just that I was stupid. Whatever Shishian said, I believed. This time, I won't let her off the hook. Summonon? Go bring the shopkeeper here. Who knows if this was done deliberately by someone with ill intentions. My Yuer is of such noble status. How can he be slighted like this? Zishian walked to my side, trying to take the golden lock. Your Highness, don't be angry. I'll personally go and get to the bottom of this. I quickly avoided his hand. Consort. Today is yours full month celebration. Why would you need to go personally for such a small matter, Nanny? You go instead. Xiaxian's face darkened as he watched the nanny walk out. In my previous life, the nanny had advised me. Even if the shopkeeper of Longjin Pavilion had 10 times the courage, he wouldn't dare slight the princess's residence. There must be something fishy about the gold lock incident, but I single-handedly suppressed the nanny's doubts. Now that I've entrusted this matter to the nanny to investigate, she will surely get to the bottom of it. Sure enough, in less than the time it takes for 2 incense sticks to burn, the nanny came back, followed by a beautiful woman carrying an infant. When she saw Shishian beside me, her eyes flickered, and she gently knelt down. This commoner, Zhou Qinyang, greets Her Highness. The princess, may your highness enjoy eternal peace and blessings. I had never seen Zhou Qinyang before. Now looking at her, she truly was delicate and frail, stirring one's pity. She was dressed in splendid attire, not the slightest bit inferior to the other noble ladies present, and the swaddling cloth wrapped around the child in her arms was made of cloud brocade. Miyur, as the legitimate eldest son of the princess's residence, used swaddling cloth that wasn't even as luxurious as his. The pattern of that cloud brocade looked familiar to me. It was left to me by my late imperial mother, and I had always kept it in the storeroom. Before giving birth to Yuar, I said I wanted to find it and make a swaddling blanket. But Shishian said children shouldn't be raised so pampered. In his hometown, children should be raised rough so they could live a long life. I believed his words and used ordinary satin for the swaddling cloth. But I never expected that this bolt of cloud brocade would end up being used on Zhou Qinyang's child. I looked Zhou Qinyang up and down, and only after a long while did I say, I wonder which family you belong to, madam. How did you not notice that you took the wrong golden lock? Zhou Qinyang trembled with fright and hurriedly took out the golden lock. It was a servant from the residence who went to fetch the golden lock, because the designs were exactly the same, and she couldn't read. She took the wrong one. Please forgive me, Your Highness. I had a servant bring over the golden lock, held it at my fingertips to examine it closely, and said casually, Is that so? But this design was drawn by me personally. How could you have gotten an identical design? Or perhaps Longjin Tower has grown bold enough to leak even the designs I created. The shopkeeper hurriedly knelt down and kowtowed. Please spare my life, Your Highness. This design was brought by this lady here. It has nothing to do with our gold shop. Because they were made by 2 different craftsmen. I only noticed today. Please forgive me, Your Highness. Zhou Qinyang was at a loss for words. She glanced up at Shishian, then quickly lowered her head again. This humble woman doesn't know. This design was given to me by my husband. I sneered. Oh, and who might your husband be? You are wearing the most fashionable Liu Guang satin in the capital, and your child is even wrapped in cloud brocade worth its weight in gold. I've been in the capital for many years, yet I've never seen you before. Zhou Qinyang was so shocked her face turned pale. Her father was just a poor scholar from the countryside of Qingzhou. The best things she had ever seen were all given to her by Shishian. How would she know what cloud brocade was? She stammered. My husband, my husband. Unable to get the words out for a long while, Xixian gently held me and consoled. Yaner, let it go. Today is the child's full moon banquet. This woman's child shares the same full moon day as our Yor, so there is some fate between them. Perhaps her husband is an official stationed elsewhere. Meeting is fate. Why not let her join yours full moon banquet to share in the good fortune, and let this matter pass? We're both mothers. Why make things difficult for her? She looks quite pitiful. Pitiful? I let out a cold laugh. My embroidered shoes inlaid with Eastern pearls walked forward and stopped in front of Zhou Qinyang. I gently touched the baby's swaddling cloth. Zhou Qinyang clutched the child tightly. "What are you trying to do?" I suddenly bellowed. "Seize this woman." The guards of the princess's residence instantly rushed forward to bind her. Zhou Qinyang shrieked. "On what grounds are you seizing me?" Xixian immediately blocked them. "What is the princess trying to do? She merely took the wrong gold lock. It is not like she committed some grave crime. Today is yours full moon banquet. Do you really want to see blood? Aren't you afraid of ruining the child's fortune?" With a slap, I turned around and slapped Xixian across the face. Princess Yan and her consort have always been deeply in love. Everyone in the capital knew this. Now that I suddenly made my move, everyone was stunned. I glared at him with reddened eyes. "You have no right to speak here. Yours name was personally bestowed by Imperial Father, and the golden lock was designed by my own hand, incorporating yours birth date and time. Yet this woman could produce an identical golden lock." I pointed at Zhou Qinyang's arms. "This cloud brocade was left to me by Imperial Mother. There is no second piece in all of the capital. It was something from the treasury, so why is it on her child? Shouldn't I ask about this? No matter who she is, daring to steal from the princess's residence, this princess will absolutely not let her off lightly. If she can't explain herself, then call the Court of Judicial Review to investigate. Even if it takes torture, we must get the truth out of her." Xixian's face turned ashen. "Enough. Today is yours full moon celebration. What are you doing shouting about beating and killing?" She already said it was the servants who couldn't read and grabbed the wrong one. The design is the same. Perhaps Lanjin Tower accidentally leaked it. As for this cloud brocade swaddling cloth, although it is precious, there are so many similar fabrics throughout the world. You are being too arbitrary. Even though your highness is of noble birth, you still can't act willfully and arrest people at random. Xixian was fuming with exasperation, looking like he would protect Zhou Qinyang no matter what. My cousin, Princess Changel, couldn't contain her anger and spoke up on the spot. "Marquise Chenging, your words are mistaken. Stealing from the imperial family is a capital offense punishable by beheading. This woman's origins are unclear. She can't even say her husband's name. Yet she is dressed so lavishly, clearly suspicious. What is wrong with Imperial Sister having the Court of Judicial Review investigate?" The guests nodded one after another. Everyone present was from noble and prestigious families, all watching with keen interest. This woman doesn't dare say who her husband is. Could she be someone's kept mistress? It is possible. She is probably kept by some official on the side. But why would she steal from the princess's residence? My nanny picked up the 2 gold locks to compare them, then suddenly exclaimed, "Your Highness, this woman's husband is also surnamed Shi." The 2 gold locks were laid out, showing the engraved characters. One bore the formal name the emperor bestowed upon Yuer Shijing Xuan, and the other bore this child's name, Shijing Yan. Samanon exclaimed in shock. The same surname, the same generation character, and they even chose 2 such similar characters. Anyone who didn't know better would think they were brothers. Among the nobility in the capital, which other family is surnamed Xia, and also uses the Jing generation character, everyone exchanged glances. Among the court officials, there were those surnamed Shi, but only the prince consort had children with the Jing generation character. The prince consort was surnamed Shi. This child was surnamed Shi. The child's name shared the same Jing character as my son's name, identical gold locks, and even used the cloud brocade bestowed by the late empress from the princess's treasury. The answer was about to come out. Everyone present instantly fell silent. Zixian's expression grew uglier and uglier. I pretended not to notice and walked step by step up to Zhou Qinyang. If you won't speak, I'll have no choice but to charge you with stealing royal property. Guards seize her and send her to the court of judicial review. Zhou Qinyang was roughly dragged to her feet. Tears rolled down her face like beads as she looked pitifully at Zixian, and the child in her arms started wailing loudly. "Stop," Zixian growled lowly. He turned to face me, looking somewhat guilty. "Yan, Qinyang is an old acquaintance of mine. She came to the capital some time ago, bringing her child alone to seek refuge with relatives. I felt sorry for her, so I took some things from the residence to give her. I didn't expect to mistakenly take your cloud brocade. It is all my fault." Zhou Qinyang was released. Her legs went weak, and she collapsed to her knees. Lang. I looked at the two of them mockingly. "So you are old acquaintances. Then that gold lock. Did you have it made for them, mother and son?" "What a coincidence. Her husband is also surnamed Shi." I pointed at the child in Zhou Qinyang's arms. "Shi Jingyan. That is so similar to our yours name. They could almost pass as real brothers." A smile hung at the corner of my lips as I looked kindly at Zhou Qinyang. "What a fate. You came to the capital all alone. Has your husband passed away? Since you are an old acquaintance of the prince consort, this princess can't bear to see you like this either. How about I arrange a marriage for you?" A few days ago, the noble consort dowager mentioned that her nephew just lost his wife and is looking for a fertile second wife. I think you are quite suitable. A madam immediately seized the opportunity and came over saying, "Your Highness truly has good taste. Earl Shukang is over 40, yet has no sons. This lady is beautiful and has given birth before. Once she marries in, having 2 children in 3 years won't be a problem." That is right. The Earl has no sons. If this child enters the household, he can take his surname. Earl Shukang will surely be pleased, and the betrothal gifts might even be several hundred taels more. Zixian's face turned pale, then flushed. I took Zhou Qinyang's hand again. "It is settled, then. Tomorrow, I'll take you into the palace to meet the consort dowager." "Enough!" he shouted angrily, cutting off my words. Then he pulled Qinyang over and held her in his arms. Gritting his teeth, he said, word by word, "Princess, Zhou Qinyang is my wedded wife. This child is mine with her." Everyone was stunned by his words. Zhou Qinyang threw herself into Zixian's arms and cried out. Lang. My sharp gaze swept over the two of them. "What did you say, wedded wife? Your first wife. Before our marriage. You never mentioned this. Zixian, the crime of deceiving the monarch can implicate your entire clan. How audacious of you." Zixian immediately explained. "Yaner, I didn't deliberately deceive you. When I went to the capital for the martial examination, I didn't know Qin. Niang was already pregnant. Our marriage was arranged by our parents, and we held the ceremony in our hometown. It is just that after I passed as the top scholar and returned home, I found out the family had suffered a flood. I thought she had long since died. Who would have known that a few months ago she found her way to the capital, saying she was pregnant? I was afraid you'd be angry, so I could only settle her in an outside residence first." He spoke with such feeling and reason, as if it truly was a helpless act, a cruel trick of fate. But I let out a cold laugh. "You are lying." Zixian's expression changed. "I am not lying." I pointed at Zhou Qin. "Niang and that child questioning. You said she got pregnant when you married her in the countryside. Then her child should be at least 1 or 2 years older than you are. How could the baby only be a month old? You had a wife and child, yet still dared to marry a princess. Zixian, I really underestimated you. On one hand, playing the prince consort, enjoying wealth and glory. On the other hand, keeping your first wife pampered outside, enjoying the fortune of having 2 wives. If not for today, when Lanjin Tower delivered the wrong gold lock, this princess wouldn't have known how long you'd keep hiding this from me. Jixian was cornered by me until he couldn't say a single word, his face flushed red, frozen in place. Seeing this, Zhou Qin Niang fell to her knees before me with a thud. Your Highness the Princess, and Lang and I truly love each other. I dare not ask for the position of legal wife, nor do I dare ask Lang to leave the princess. And Lang is after all the child's father. I can go without status, but the child is innocent. I just want the child to have a legitimate birth. I've always heard that the princess is a merciful person. Please show some kindness and allow us mother and son to enter the manor. Qin Niang doesn't dare to claim the position of legal wife and is willing to lower herself to a concubine. Would that be all right? I beg the princess to show mercy and give us mother and son a way to survive. Zhou Qin Niang kowtowed hard, drawing the attention of all the guests present. Xixian helped her up with heartache. Your Highness, even though you are a princess, you can't drive my legal wife to death. Now she is not fighting with you over status, and is willing to lower herself to a concubine. What more do you want from her? Just because you are a noble princess, does that mean you can be this domineering? I was almost laughing from anger at his shameless words. I took Yuer into my arms and looked at him coldly. You concealed your wife and deceived the royal family first. After marrying me, you rekindled your relationship with her and had children. Each and every one of these is enough to have you killed 100 times over. Since you cherish your legal wife so much, this princess shall grant your wish. I walked to the desk, picked up the brush, and casually wrote a letter of divorce, throwing it in front of him. Such a disloyal, unfaithful, treacherous person. How are you worthy of being this princess's prince consort? How are you worthy of being yours father? Xixian. From today onwards, our bond as husband and wife is over. From now on, all ties between us are severed. You are on your own. He looked at me in shock. Yonner, what are you saying? You want to divorce me? Just because my first wife found me, because I won't do as you wish and drive her to death, you want to divorce me? If I really did as you wished, abandoning my first wife and my own flesh and blood for wealth and glory, that would make me unfit to be human. How have you become so vicious? The Xia clan members started coming forward to persuade me. Princess, it is perfectly normal for a man to have multiple wives and concubines. Besides, Qin Niang and he were husband and wife through poverty. As the saying goes, a wife who shared your hardships should not be abandoned. Now that she has found her way here and is willing to become a concubine, why don't you just let it go? Just think of it as keeping a cat or dog in the manor. It won't interfere with your affairs at all. Exactly, once Qin Yang enters the household, you won't need to worry about heirs anymore. She looks like she can bear children easily, and when that happens, won't they all have to call you mother? I looked at the Xia clan members, full of disdain in my heart. It was the same in my previous life. They probably knew long ago that Xixian was keeping Qin Yang outside. Yet they helped him hide it together. These people were nothing but peasants in origin, enjoying wealth and glory by relying on the Princess Manor's power. Yet they betrayed me behind my back, even when Xixian was on his deathbed and wanted to be buried together with Zhou Qinyang. They all stood on Xixian's side, persuading me. We were already in our twilight years. Why bother fighting over this? Better to just let it go. Now it seems they've had a few good days and forgotten who has been supporting them. In this life, I will never make the same mistakes again. My nanny stepped forward and angrily rebuked them. How dare you? Our princess is of noble birth. How can the child of a low-born woman be worthy of calling her mother? When His Majesty bestowed the marriage, he also asked the prince consort whether he had a wife back home. How did he answer? If the prince consort truly cherished the bond with his humble wife, why did he marry the princess? It was nothing but greed for wealth and status. The Xia clan patriarch stepped forward with a dark face. You old servant! How dare you overstep your place and slander the prince consort? I sneered coldly. Xixian is no longer the prince consort. My wet nurse is a fourth-rank female official. What are you lot to dare act impudent before her? Guards throw Xixian and everyone related to the Xi family out of the princess's residence. Don't dirty my floor. Only then did Xixian realize I really intended to divorce him. In a complete panic, he knelt down and desperately grabbed my skirt hem. Yanner, I was wrong. If you don't want Qinyang to enter the residence, we can discuss it properly. I slapped him hard across the face. Discuss. What status do you have to be worthy of discussing anything with me? Lord Xia, instead of wasting your effort on this, you'd better think about how you are going to explain to Father Emperor at tomorrow's court audience about your lawful wife and your legitimate son. The entire Xia clan was driven out by the guards of the princess's residence. Zhou Qinyang held the child standing delicately beside Xixian. And, Lang, how did it come to this? The Xi clan members shouted. Our belongings are still inside the princess's residence. We want to take our things. The nanny spat. Pa, when you Xia family people moved in, what did you have besides a tattered bundle and a few broken bowls? After saying that, the gatekeeper took out a pile of bundles wrapped in rags, threw them on the ground. Get lost. The onlooking crowd burst into laughter. How shameless of them. Living it up in the princess's residence, yet doing something like this. Truly shameless. A bunch of poor wretches came to the capital to sponge off others, and they really think they're some noble aristocratic family. As expected of country bumpkins, they actually dared to put on airs in front of the princess, and even tried to lecture her. Absolutely laughable. Xixian's face flushed red. Yanner, must you be so heartless? I glanced at him. Oh, and Lord Xi's things too. When you entered the residence as the prince consort, you did bring a few chests of belongings. Don't damage them. Carry them out, and return them to Lord Xi. That day, at the spring banquet, he shot 10 arrows in succession, looking valiant and dashing. Such a young hero naturally made one fall for him. I've always despised the dandyish ways of noble sons, and was quite fascinated by his simple and honest temperament. When Father Emperor bestowed the marriage, he swore to the heavens that he would be with me alone for life, and would never take a concubine. I was moved by the lies he fabricated, thinking I had married a good man. Even the junk he brought into the princess's residence when we married, I treasured as if they were precious. The boxes were opened in front of everyone. Inside was a jumble of things. Hand-copied storybooks, handmade kites, all already worn and tattered. There were also some worthless trinkets, all bought from roadside stalls to coax me, added together. Several boxes of things weren't even worth 10 taels of silver. The onlookers instantly burst into laughter. No way, the prince consort won over the princess with just these. How shameless. He married the princess and soared to the top, yet still dared to keep a woman outside. Didn't you hear? He called her his first wife. What first wife? He dared to marry the princess when he already had a wife. That is deceiving the emperor, a capital offense. The crowd chattered away, filled with righteous indignation. Since Xixian was no longer the prince consort, they were even more unrestrained in pointing and gossiping about him. Xixian was dragged out, still unwillingly shouting, Princess, who doesn't know how deep our love as husband and wife is. Besides, you're as my child. How can you divorce me? Can you bear to let our child lose his father right after being born? He is the bloodline of my Xi family. Even if you divorce me, yours should come with me. I laughed. Xixian, having you as a father is already a burden for Yuer, and you still dare to make demands. This princess married you, so you became a noble prince consort. This princess is disgusted with you, so you are nothing. I will report to Imperial Father and have your take my surname. After saying that, I took that golden lock and threw it directly at his face, considering it as fulfilling the last bit of father-son affection for your. This is a gift from this princess. Remember, today is the last day your will ever bear the surname Xiae. From today onwards, he is called Xiao Yu, the legitimate grandson of the current emperor, imperial royalty, and has absolutely nothing to do with you, Shashayan. If you dare to involve him again, this princess will have your entire clan buried alongside. The gates of the princess manor slammed shut before him with a thunderous rumble, and along with it went all his fame and fortune. I held Yer tightly. In this life, I have finally gotten rid of Shixian. I want to see how, without the identity of prince consort, he will get close to the center of power, how he will rise through the ranks. Shixian and the Shi clan members were driven out of the princess manor. Standing, the clan head stamped his feet. Xian, how could you and Qin Niang make a scene in front of the princess? Now that the princess is angry and has divorced her husband, what are we going to do? Xian furrowed his brow. No matter, the princess loves me deeply. It is just momentary anger. In a couple of days, I'll coax her again. At worst, I'll have Qin Niang fake her death and escape to go live in our hometown. It is just that Qin Niang and my Yanner will have to suffer some grievances. After saying this, he lovingly held Qin Niang and the child in his arms. The hidden guards watching them from outside the residence reported every word of this to me. I let out a cold snort. In my past life, I was just that foolish, wholeheartedly devoted to Shixian, paving his path to success, elevating the Shi family from country bumpkins to new nobility in the capital. I wanted to see how the Shi family would view Shixian, the one who started all this, after losing their promising future and wealth. Xixian brought Qin Niang and the clan members temporarily back to the courtyard where she was kept. Because Qin Niang was secretly kept in the capital, the rented courtyard was extremely small. It was just right for a family of 3 plus a few servant women. But now, with over a dozen households suddenly moving in, there wasn't even room to set foot in the entire courtyard. The Xia clan patriarch sighed deeply. Xian is really foolish. That is the princess we're talking about. How could he do such a foolish thing for a mere Qin Niang? Auntie pursed her lips. How could it just happen to be so coincidental? How could 2 locks be sent wrong? Why do I feel something's off? Could she have done it on purpose, not content with living in this courtyard for the rest of her life? So she deliberately let the princess find out, hoping to enter the household as a concubine? How can she be so selfish? Isn't this cutting off our Shi family's future? Patriarch, this won't do. The princess just said she would find me an official position. Now that she is divorced Xian, can I still get that position? The clan members started chattering all at once, all blaming Qin Niang and Shixian for causing such a scene and affecting their prospects. Sure enough, starting from the second day, the Xia family discovered that all the positions and jobs arranged for them through my connections were gone. Our shopkeeper said we don't need a second shopkeeper anymore. You'd better leave. Our Master Li said the vacancy at the Yamen has already been filled. You came too late, Aya. It was only for the princess's sake back then. Now that Shixian is no longer the prince consort, such positions won't go to you, size. As for the aunties in the clan, when they went to familiar restaurants, gold shops, rouge shops and such to eat, drink and have fun, they were stopped when it was time to pay, discovering they could no longer put it on a tab. The shopkeeper stopped the Shi family aunties. Madam, this headpiece is 300 taels in total. Please settle the bill. The auntie shouted loudly. When we Shi family members buy things here, we never need to pay. We just put it on the tab. The shop assistant said mockingly, that was before, when Master Xia was still the prince consort. This is a business under the princess's name, and we only kept a tab for the prince consort's sake. Yesterday, the princess ordered that from now on, anyone who shops here must pay their bill. The other madams and young ladies who were shopping saw this, and looked at them with disdain. No money, but still want to take things for free. Why are the Shia family all so shameless? Before, they were relatives of the prince consort. Now, in this capital, who would give them any face? Without the princess backing him up, Xia Xian, with his honorary empty title, isn't even worthy of carrying shoes for the nobles. The Xi family members returned to the courtyard looking utterly humiliated from being mocked, and saw Qin Yang sighing. So many people living in such a small courtyard, patriarch. Why not let them return to their hometown soon? The clan members were furious. Zhou Qinyang, who do you think you are? You are not even a proper member of the Xia family, yet you want to kick us out? If our Xia family hadn't paid for Xi Xian to go to the capital, could he have passed the martial examination and become a capital official? If he dares to be ungrateful, we'll go to the Yamen and accuse him of being disloyal and unfilial. The Xia residence was in chaos, but Xi Xian didn't know about it at all, because he was at the Yamen receiving a lecture. Everyone knew he had been divorced by the princess, and the way they looked at him had completely changed. He went to the Ministry of War to receive assignments, but his superior only said, "There are no tasks to be done right now. Lord Xi, you should go home and rest first. When there are tasks, we'll send someone to summon you." One should know that without any assignments, it would be absolutely impossible to get promoted another rank. And he might even be transferred to an even more idle position, completely becoming a mere figurehead. Overnight, the world had turned upside down. What was there that Xi Xian didn't understand? His title of Marquis Chengning was merely bestowed by the emperor for the sake of his grandson. He had always prided himself on being full of talent, with boundless prospects, and that sooner or later he would rise to the highest positions at court. Only after hitting wall after wall did he realize that in this capital, without connections, forget about prospects, others wouldn't even spare you a glance. He returned to the residence and saw Qin Yang with hands on her hips, arguing fiercely with the clan members, while the child was crying so hard in the room he was about to pass out. Yet no one paid any attention. Right when the commotion was at its peak, someone blocked the doorway. It was the manager from a shop under my name, holding bills and coming to collect debts. "Lord Xia, these are the debts your Xia family ran up on credit at our shops. The princess said you two are no longer husband and wife, so all these accounts need to be settled. It is a total of 38,000 taels of silver. Please settle the payment, Lord Xi." Xi Xian's eyes widened. How can it be this much? A thick stack of bills, jewelry, brocades, restaurants, and eateries. Everything you could think of. The Xi family members yelled, "We're relatives of you, the prince consort. When we're out and about, we can't lose face, right? This was all for your sake, and you are blaming us." The one who spent the most here is Zhou Qinyang. What kind of thing is she? The daughter of a poor scholar, yet she dares to use shoe brocade for shoe uppers. Back in the countryside, even her clothes were covered in patches. Exactly after living a few good days, she really thinks she is some noble lady. Zhou Qinyang sobbed. "And Lang, you were the one who said I looked good in shoe brocade. That is why I bought shoe brocade to make clothes. The same with those silks. I did it all for your reputation. And when Yanner was born, you said our son is the eldest son of Marquis Chengning, and deserves only the best. I bought all those things for our son." Zixian felt dizzy, and couldn't listen anymore. He turned and left through the courtyard gate, heading to the princess's residence. He happened to encounter my carriage leaving the residence. He blocked the carriage and gripped the shaft tightly. "Yanner, I was wrong. Can you forgive me just this once and give me another chance? A day as husband and wife means 100 days of grace. Besides, I am yours father. Can you bear to see him grow up without a father from birth?" The guards of the princess's residence kicked him aside. "How dare you? His Majesty has summoned the princess to the palace to hold a belated full moon ceremony for our young master. If you delay us, you cannot afford the consequences. Get lost." Zixian fell to the ground in a wretched state. The wind blew the carriage curtain aside, and he saw me dressed in golden palace robes, holding Eurus in my arms. His eyes instantly reddened. Only then did he realize the vast difference between us, like clouds and mud. Only because I adored him and willingly pulled him up to these heights did he get to enjoy all those privileges. Xixian's face turned pale as he slumped to the ground. He finally understood that his connection to the imperial family had been completely severed the moment that divorce letter landed yesterday. He struggled and shouted, "Princess, I truly know I was wrong. I shouldn't have deceived you, and I shouldn't have married Qin Yang. If you don't want to see them mother and child, I'll send Qin Yang and the child away. Never let them return to the capital. All right, I'll never see them again in this lifetime. We'll only have Yor as our only child. I promise I won't take concubines, won't have illegitimate sons. I'll only stay by you and our child. All right? As long as you forgive me this once, Yanner. Didn't you say you wanted to be with me as one pair for a lifetime? In my previous life, he would rather die than be apart from Qin Yang, sharing the same quilt in life and the same grave in death. Now, in merely one day's time, he couldn't wait to send Qin Yang and her child away. I let out a cold, mocking laugh, gently lifted the curtain, and saw Zhou Qinyang hiding in the corner. To make me forgive you, you'd rather never see them again in this life? Yixian seemed to have made up his mind, nodding eagerly. Your Highness, I swear, I'll handle it cleanly. There will no longer be Zhou Qinyang and her child in this world. When she had just arrived in the capital, I only slept with her for one night. How could she so conveniently get pregnant? Who knows if it is even mine, Princess? Rest assured, I guarantee I'll make them disappear without a trace. I chuckled lightly. She is your first wife. Aren't you afraid of people poking your spine behind your back? Zixian shook his head. Back during the flood, she was swept away. They say someone rescued her, but who knows what she went through during those several months in between. Perhaps she lost her virtue long ago. Otherwise, how could a weak woman like her find her way to the capital? Some wild man must have helped her. And, Lang, what are you saying? Are you abandoning us, mother and child? For the sake of wealth and glory, you'd actually slander me for having an affair with another man. Are you even human? Zhou Qinyang held the child, standing behind Shixian with a pale face. Yixian shoved her away. If you hadn't deliberately taken the wrong golden lock, how could today's incident have happened? You've harmed me to this extent, and you still have the nerve to speak. Zhou Qinyang retreated step by step. And, Lang, how could you become so heartless just to be the prince consort? If you don't become the prince consort, we can return to our hometown. Our family can still live well, just like before. Xian screamed, cutting her off. Before, I worked so hard to get to where I am, and you want me to go back to the countryside. It is all because of you, you fool, that I am ruined. Today, I'll write you a divorce letter. The child isn't mine either. Get out of here right now. Zhou Qinyang stared at him in disbelief, shaking her head, and burst into laughter. Zixian, back then, I sold the family's farmland to send you to the capital for the imperial examination. Once you rose to success, you turned around and forgot about me, marrying the princess. Later, when we reunited, you said you'd let me into the princess's residence, that you'd give us mother and child a proper status. Yet in just one short day, you've become this heartless, wanting to take our lives. You want to abandon us and go back to being your prince consort. Absolutely impossible. She laughed maniacally, suddenly lifted the child and slammed them hard onto the ground, causing screams from the surrounding crowd. Yixian was splattered with blood, frozen in shock, while Zhou Qinyang stepped through the blood to stand before him, pulled out the golden hairpin from her head, and viciously stabbed it toward his neck. My dear Xia, we are husband and wife bound since youth. How could we ever be separated? Yixian, covered in blood, wanted to turn back and look at me, but found that the princess's carriage had long since driven away. The next day, inside the princess's residence, I held Yor as I received the imperial decree with gratitude. Father Emperor had just conferred upon him the title of Commandery Prince. Everyone came to offer congratulations, and the nanny whispered in my ear, "Your Highness, Shixian isn't dead, but he will be soon. He says he wants to see you one last time." The royal family's punishment for the Shiclan's crime of deceiving the emperor had already been handed down. He was stripped of his noble title, but due to his severe injuries, could only lie in prison. I looked at the child in my arms and shook my head. "I won't see him." Then I asked, "What about the others?" For the Xia family's crime of deceiving the emperor, the entire clan has been sentenced to exile 3,000 li away. As for that Zhou Qinyang, for committing murder in the street, she has already been sentenced to beheading. When everything had settled, for your sake, I had someone collect Shixian's remains and had him buried together with Zhou Qinyang and that child. In his past life, he pampered Zhou Qinyang for decades, deeply devoted to her for a lifetime. And in the end, he'd rather die just to be buried together with her. In this life, this princess shall grant their wish, together in life and death, never to be separated.